Now, from the In-Quality stand at NAB Show at the Las Vegas Convention Center, streaming live around the world, showcasing IPDTL, hybrIP, and SIP.audio. On Twitter, we're In-Quality Media. And here's your host, Kevin Leach.
Welcome to the virtual NAB Show stream from our virtual Las Vegas Convention Center. I'm joined by my co-host for this hour. It's Stuart Clarkson. We need callers to enable us to demonstrate what it is that we're doing today and what it is that we're demonstrating. So there's a number for you to call. It's a US number, 323-336-6556. That's 323-336-6556. There is a UK number as well, which is 020-3781-9495.
He wants to ask a general question about day passes. So what I'll do, Rob, is I will forward you through to the studio, and Kevin will pick up that call, and he's miles away from me because he's obviously in Vegas and I'm I'm in the north of England. So you'll get transferred through, you might hear a ringing tone, and then Kevin will pick it up in the studio. So just stay on the line for me and we'll talk to you in a moment. So I'm now pressing the forward button on my screen, and that should pass through to you, Kevin.
Yeah, and I've got a call which I see on my blue channel here, and I'm going to press the on-air switch for that channel and say, hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Who am I speaking to?
Hello, Kevin. It's my name's Rob. I'm phoning from Essex. And I had a general question about IPDTL. I wanted to ask about you. I know there's the various layers of subscription, the bronze, silver, and gold. But I was particularly interested in the day pass and whether that gave me exactly the same access as, say, a bronze subscription.
If I look at my IPDTL screen now, I'm going to the IPDTL homepage, and down at the bottom there's a link that says compare bronze, silver and gold. I don't know if you're near a computer right now, Rob, but you can always follow along this with me, and you can actually see, and it's quite complex because of all the different things that IPDTL can do now. There's a table that shows you all the different things.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, and I'm just gonna fade down Stuart as he takes
hang on
another phone call.
Yeah, just bear with me 1 second. I think Kevin's just taking me off the air, and it's very confusing because I can hear him in one set of headphones and I can hear you in the other. So
yeah, so Stuart's faded down now. You carry on, Stuart. So this is all fun, isn't it? So if I go back now to my window in which I had the IPDTL features screen, Rob, it gives me a table where I can look at all the different features that the different things will give me, and then there's a column for day pass, which answers your question. It tells you everything that you can and can't do with a day pass, and it tells you everything that you can and can't do with a bronze subscription.
Excellent. Fine. Well,
Rob,
I'll let you get back to the sunshine of Los Angeles.
Yes, Las Vegas. Yeah. Can't you tell? It obviously looks like a convention center in Las Vegas, not LA. Rob, listen, really good to hear from you. Thank you for calling in. And well, any other questions? We're here for you.
Many thanks, Kevin. All the best. Bye.
Bye now. There's Rob, and I can drop him off now by clicking the red button at the bottom of the fader here, or I can use the red button on the side of the coloured strip here. Let's talk to our next caller on line 3. Who is it, please?
Hello, good evening. It's Gary from the south of England.
I thought I recognised that voice. Gary, how are you doing? Nice to have you on the show.
It's good to be on the show, Kevin. Doing very well, thank you. So my simple questions to start with, and this was something which obviously came to the fore just now with talking to Stuart before he put me through to you. We were debating whether, once I had been put through, I would hear a continuous ringing tone until the studio answered the phone, or whether, like more traditional systems, you'd immediately get what's going out on air, so you as the caller could hear the previous caller and the response to that, etc., etc.
And now that you have been transferred through, you can answer the question for us. What happened?
Well, there was a very short ring, and then I got on air. But the conversation with Stuart with a quick DM was that because you answered the call because you picked it up before going to it, or was that how the system is designed?
There are various options, and on the screen here we've got auto accept enabled, and we've got mute on hang up enabled. So you'd have seen, well, you didn't see actually, but if I were to drop Stuart off now, and I will do, Stuart's fader drops down automatically as soon as I hang the call up. So let's connect back through to Stuart, and so when a new call comes through, that fader is closed when the call comes through, and then because we have auto accept enabled, you hear after that tiny little ringtone, which is just the forwarding process, you then hear the program, which I think is what happened.
Yes, indeed. So I got a ring, which was great, and then I've got you chatting to the previous caller from Essex, and
which is the output from my studio board, essentially. But on the screen layout, well, you can see on the screen now that we have an auto cue option. Now, what auto cue can do is, there it is. There is a timeout on phone calls. There's only, especially on internet phone calls, it will ring for so long until the line, just times out. So we work around that by adding a virtual ringtone, if you like. hybrIP generates a ringtone when the caller calls in. And if you've got that auto cue function on, it drops the call. It automatically answers the call, but with your mic turned off. And Stuart, you might want to enable auto cue now. Why don't you enable auto cue? And we'll see what happens. So I'm gonna dial in on the UK number, so I'm dialing it now. Now it's remembered what I wanted to talk about the last time I called in, because it recognises my number, which thankfully is blurred out on the screen. And I think Stuart almost typed something untoward there, and I said, no, don't type something untoward, because it will come back to haunt us later. And sure enough. So what we see there is that the call has actually been answered. But if I put my phone receiver up to the microphone,
you're just hearing a ringtone still.
There's a ringtone. So hybrIP is generating that ringtone, even though it has answered the call. Therefore, the call isn't going to time out on the phone network. So it's sitting there. It's generating a ringtone. And then when Stuart wants to, he can click the talk back button to talk to me.
Hi, Kevin. There he is.
And there he is, and I can talk to Stuart, and you can hear me, and then you can put me through if you want. But then I think the world would implode. So I've now hung that call up. So Gary, does that help at all to answer your question, or did I go off on a major tangent?
No, not at all. I think it helps. Looking at the mixer there, I can see on the web stream at the moment that obviously you've got the four coloured bars for the in essence the four lines, I guess the four channels.
Yeah, the four virtual phone lines. Yeah, and there are various. By the way, you can pay less and have one line or two lines, and you can get as many login IDs as you want. So you could have 5 people answering the calls, or or 2 hosts, or whatever, an AM and an FM station. Sorry, Gary, go on.
No, not at all. What my question is, and I think I possibly again might answer this myself, is that I'm guessing in the sense of this being used in the cubicle, in the production area, shall we say, with your call handler passing it through. In essence, all of these are going to appear just on one fader in the studio, or is there a way that they could be split, so actually on your desk your presenter may actually have 4 individual faders for each of those four phone channels, as you have it demonstrated at the moment?
Well, Gary, I'm glad that you asked, because, and we haven't set you up with these questions, just to be clear, have we?
No, not at all, no.
Let me introduce you to the 4xIO layout of hybrIP, and I'll show you that because you can access all of these layouts from IPDTL or hybrIP. I'll do it in my other browser here, in my IPDTL browser. So I'm going to switch at the top of the page to 4xIO and click past the splash screen. We now see our 4xIO layout. Actually, it's got a complex routing matrix that if you could think of something wacky to do with this, you could. But you see those black spots? They are they're the magic connection if you go up from the fader and across to the right. So we can see if I wanted to send channel 1 the audio from my built-in microphone. We see that appear on the page now. And then the output from that to my internal speaker. Obviously, ideally, I'd have an audio interface, or this works nicely with Dante virtual audio driver. And then, so for the next channel, I could choose a different audio source, and I could send that to a different audio destination. I could do that for each channel, and then those could be routed to a different fader on my desk. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
You're listening to the virtual NAB show. Gary Dell is on the line. Stuart's with me as well. If you want to call in and talk to us, it's 323-336-6556. There's a UK number on the screen as well. 323-336-6556. Do call in. Ask us anything you like about anything in quality, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. You can also get in touch on the social media channels. Just type below the video, and we'll try our best to answer those. How are you getting on there, Stuart?
Yeah, I'm getting on all right. I had a couple of questions about hybrIP while we're on as well in the asking questions. The first one was about the call costs and routing, I suppose, because Gary's obviously phoned into us on our UK number, so he's paying for that call if he's ringing from his home handset. I've obviously answered it at my house. I've passed it on to you. It's going all over the internet. Presumably there's no extra charges for that bit of the routing if you've got a package from hybrIP and IPDTL.
Our phone calls are all done on a fair flat basis. So if you add the TEL service to your subscription, which you will need to use hybrIP because I assume you've got it to make or receive phone calls, then you pay a subscription, a monthly or annual subscription for the phone calls, and you can add a phone number as well. So assuming you want to receive phone calls, you'll need a phone number which is $80 for a year or £50 for a year. But let's say your radio station exists in 5 different markets. You can actually have, or your radio show exists in 5 different markets, like Joe Paggs, who we spoke to on our previous show today. He works from his home radio studio and broadcasts on several radio stations. He could have a different phone number for each one of those markets, and therefore the callers could call a local number to them, and they could all land in your hybrIP account. Does that answer your question, Stuart?
It does, and if I'm a radio station that exists already and I want to add this product to my existing radio station, I've got a phone-in number already, and that's just a normal telephony number. I presume I could get a virtual number through hybrIP and then forward all the incoming calls to that. I'd just pay the call forwarding costs.
Yeah, this is a question that comes up quite a lot. How do I migrate from what I'm using currently to using hybrIP? And some people have had to think about this quite rapidly recently, who've gone from having full serviced studios that they now aren't really able to use. So most business phone packages with the likes of AT&T and BT and other phone providers will give you, with your package, the opportunity to forward numbers, whether that's on with a shortcut on a phone, or whether you actually have to do it through a web portal. It varies depending on what your service is. A lot of higher level business packages will actually let you ring in and ask them to divert it to a number, especially in an emergency situation. So yeah, that is one way to do it. It is possible, and we have successfully done it for some customers, that you port a number. So you ask your provider. It's different depending on the jurisdiction station and which telephone provider. But yes, you can ask your current telephone provider to give permission to give away that number essentially to us or to our third-party telephony provider, and then we then have control of that number on your behalf.
I think the other thing I just wanted to demonstrate and show you, I suppose, is the forward destination, which is where we're sending the calls. So I'm the call screener here, answering the phone calls, and we've set it up so that I'm forwarding them through to the hybrIP studio, as you might be able to see on my screen here. And this is just a drop down, so anything that's linked to our IPDTL account, we can decide where we want to route those calls. So if I click on the drop down, you should hopefully see some other options. So these are all the other devices and people's accounts that we've got listed in our NAB Show IPDTL account today. So if I wanted to route a call to somewhere else, whether it's to the iMac instead of the studio, or to a MacBook, or to Townsend at his house, I can simply drop down the list of options and swap that. So you might have hosts in different places all over the country, and you want to route some calls to Kevin in his location and route some calls to Townsend in his location, or whatever. So that's easily done on the switching as well.
Going back to the AM and FM station scenario, it might be that today you're answering calls, you're working at home like the rest of us, you're answering calls today for the AM station, but tomorrow you're answering calls for the FM station, so you just change where you're forwarding that. Or indeed maybe one has a talk show in the morning and the other has a talk show in the afternoon, so again you just change it depending on which host you're forwarding to or which physical studio you're forwarding to.
Yeah, and I suppose the other thing as well that we've not really shown on this screen, I was answering the calls by pressing this talk back button up here, and then I would pass the calls through by pressing forward, which automatically made them ring in Kevin's studio and he could put them on the air. We've also got this approve option. So if a caller comes in and I press the approve button, am I right in thinking that will actually hang up the call with them, but it will appear in your list for you to make a call back?
Let's do it, shall we? This is always the easiest way with these things. I'll call you.
Okay.
And while I'm calling, Mark Sparrow on the Facebook feed says, sorry for the geek question. Hey, listen, Mark, we'd never be sorry for a geek question around here. We love a good geek question. But what is the headset Stuart is using? What's the headset you're using?
It is a Beyerdynamic 245.
The thing is, you'd have to take it off to find out, wouldn't you? That's
I
the
don't
thing
think it even
headsets.
says on it, but I can take it off because I'm hearing you on this little
earpiece.
Of course
you are. Yeah, it's all just the magic of television.
It's a Beyer 245 80 ohm.
Right.
There you go.
Good. There you go. And he also says, I can't find a USB headset with mic monitoring.
Okay. Well, this isn't a USB headset. I should probably point that out. This is an XLR headset.
Yeah. So what he means is a USB headset that includes the zero latency monitoring that we get in something like a Blue Yeti. Now, the solution to that would be to do exactly what you're suggesting, I think, Mark, is to use something like Stuart's got, and then use something like this, which is a Focusrite 2i2 audio interface, connect the microphone into that, connect the headphones into the headphone socket, and then that will give you exactly what you're looking for, which I think is what you're getting at. You're
and I'm not guessing that at the moment because I've got the XLR from this headset plugged into a Blue Icicle, which
doesn't
like
have zero latency monitoring.
No, it doesn't, and it doesn't have monitoring. So the two wires coming out at the end of this headset, one is XLR going into the Blue Icicle USB interface, and the other is a 6.3mm headphone jack that I've converted to 3.5mm headphone jack and plugged into the back of my computer into the headphone socket.
There you go.
Which is why on my screen you see the Blue Icicle is my input and my built-in headphones is my output.
We're rattling through here. If anybody's got any other questions that you want to type them into the Facebook feed, then
meanwhile,
please do. Oh, where were we? I was calling in.
Yeah.
Right.
You've just paid for 2 minutes of a phone call that we've not used. So there we go.
Right. So I've called in, and you want to approve my call. So you've typed the details in. You know what my number is, and you can now click on the approve button.
So if I click that,
now
you
see what it's done.
List down here.
But it hasn't hung up the call. So you can do that whilst we're talking. And you're hearing me twice at the moment. So I can now, I'll hang up the call and we'll see that drops off. So you can see now that is in our approved list on the left-hand side of the page. And you get to that using the little menu option at the top of the screen. So the default position there is the Destinations tab, and you can switch through to the Approved list, and you see there's a way to sort by A to Z or by most recent call, for instance. Great. If you just switch back to the Destinations tab, then on there, Stuart, then we can see we can see what I was talking about. So Mark says, thanks, that's clear. I do wish Blue would make a headset with zero latency built in for use with a dispatch box. Yeah, I mean...
that would be great.
Decent USB headsets. Well, when did you ever find one? I haven't. If you find one, then let me know. Gary?
Well, I was going to say, but maybe there's a business opportunity there.
Hey, we're busy enough already, but yeah, for you. Maybe there's a business opportunity there for you.
I'm too low down the techie scale to.
But yeah, something as good as this broadcast quality, like this Bayer headset, which is great. You know, I've had these a few years. I used them for. We used to go to the Radio Awards and do a live show from the balcony at the big hotel in London, and myself and my co-host would have these on, obviously plugged into an analog desk and then out to the stream. But yeah, if we got a USB version of one of these, good quality headset, that'd be fantastic.
Now the thing with decent sounding headphones, of course, is that generally they're not cheap, are they? You can get a good USB, handheld or desk mic now for around the $100 mark, whereas headsets like that you're talking more like $200 or $300.
Yeah.
Gary, it's been great to talk to you today. Thank you for coming on the programme. It's always a pleasure to hear your enthusiasm for our services, and do call again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye now. So we've got a couple of comments on Facebook there.
We have. Yes. First one is not a geek question, just an observation from Jim. Jim says, I like how your mic cord is keyed out, Kevin. Is that an IPDTL upgrade? You've got a nice green microphone XLR cable there. Do
you know what? I absolutely didn't. But it must only be when I wander back and it gets caught in, when it gets caught in certain light. There it is. Yeah, that's just an extra feature. You know what, by the way?
Cordless mic looks even more fancy.
I have now put my NAB security badge around my neck because I was getting in trouble with the virtual security staff here at the virtual Las Vegas Convention Center. So I do now have my ID around my neck. And Roger, I hope that you have yours on as well. We might check in with Roger in a while. What else we got on Facebook?
Robert on Facebook asks, can you control the volume sent to the caller? So the call volume that you're sending back down the line.
Looking at my screen now, if I do this, then my audio to Stuart should, if you show us now through sign language, Stuart, can you still hear me?
He's gone.
Oh, in fact, you don't need to use sign language because
maybe he's just turned off.
There he is. So that was me demonstrating adjusting the level that I'm sending to the callers, because essentially, Stuart, currently you are a caller in our hybrIP page. Good. The great questions coming in. Any more, then post them.
Another one from Robert as well. Can the dial-in number that you allocate be memorable? So can you pick a memorable number? Presumably you can pick a local number to your geographic area and that kind of thing as well.
Do you mean a number such as 323 336 6556? Is that
or
kind
maybe
of
even 0203 781 9495,
which is less memorable. If that's what you mean, yes, that number came from the same available pool of numbers as that you have access to as a customer. So it's hit and miss because, of course, some area codes will happen to have great numbers, some area codes will just happen to have fewer numbers available because there are more radio stations in that area, or pizza companies or taxi companies, and they've already taken the number. So it's to answer your question, maybe.
I guess, could somebody pay for a premium one? That's perhaps a question you're asking. I've used various other SIP services. There's one I'm running during the coronavirus at the moment for my local town for like a helpline for people to ring in, and I've paid £50 to get a better number that's more memorable, that's equivalent to 100 or whatever. So presumably somebody could buy a SIP number and import it.
everything has a price, Stuart.
Yeah,
Everything
absolutely.
has a price.
I knew that would be the answer.
And anything is possible. And you can always get in touch at support@sip.audio or support.ipdtl.com or support@inqualitymedia.com, and we will answer those questions for you. Stuart, tell us about the thing on your desk.
Oh, yes. So this is my USB SIP codec that I built live on our stream this time yesterday. I was just finishing it off, getting it plugged in and turned on. Yeah, it's all working. I've been using it through the day today as well. It's very nice.
Just
very
wait.
shiny.
It's not plugged in at the moment, so you can't wait.
It's not plugged in at the moment.
No,
but what I can probably just hold up to show you on the screen, if I just take the back off, you'll see that it's just a Raspberry Pi computer inside the back of the screen. So I've got a 7-inch touch screen, and in the back, literally just a little mini hand-sized computer with USB sockets and Ethernet cables and that kind of thing.
This is our USB SIP codec. There's also a screenless version that looks like this. They are available now on our website, inqualitymedia.com/store. We've got our voiceover special. Townsend Coleman's going to join us. His friend BP, the audio engineer from Studio City, is gonna join us. Katie Lee is going to join us, and a whole host of other voice talent, including James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi, no less. All joining us. That should be the headline, shouldn't it? All joining us on our show at 11 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. But so at that 11 a.m. Eastern show, 8 a.m. Pacific, Stuart, we're gonna actually talk to you on that device that we just saw. Yeah.
Yes, so that's, as you say, it's 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. on the East Coast, and it's going to be 4 p.m. if you're in the UK, as I am. Obviously, Kevin, you're on the West Coast of the States still at the moment.
In Las Vegas. Oops, yeah.
So we're going to be showing you how you can use SIP.audio to connect to all sorts of different devices, and that includes IPDTL and obviously these SIP codecs that you can buy from Inquality, or that you can get a Raspberry Pi and make your own of. But we're also going to show you a few other ways that you can use SIP, perhaps on a smartphone app, such as Lucy Live or Linphone. So we're going to demonstrate those for you and show you how you can connect to hardware that your radio station might have, such as a Comrex access or that kind of thing. Just demonstrate the fact that this has the ability to connect with lots of different types of devices. So it's not just about point-to-point, IPDTL to IPDTL. You can actually use the technology to connect to some existing hardware that you might have.
Wonderful stuff. Stuart, thank you so much for your help today. Great to have you on board. May I also thank Roger, who's been working very hard behind the scenes on this one. We'll catch up with Roger in our voiceover special tomorrow, and indeed we'll see him connecting to us on his SIP devices, from his SIP devices in his home studio. Thank you for watching, because if you weren't there, then what would be the point? It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll catch you here. Let's say we're going to do it again on the Facebook page tomorrow, facebook.com/Inquality, and we'll see you right here from our virtual Las Vegas Convention Center, 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow.